The 1st of July is a new month. June was amazing. June was my birthday month. I got this t-shirt, it's got a duck on it. I love it so much. I just thought I would write today. So I haven't written in a bit too long, to be honest. I think it's been about a week. I got really busy with freelance work. If you don't know, I'm Katie. I'm a freelance graphic designer. I also write. I'm writing a fantasy novel. So like most people, I fit my writing in and around my schedule. My schedule does look a bit different to other people's. It's only Tuesday, but I worked all weekend and I sent off a project at like 8:30 last night, so I'm a little bit tired. I actually thought I would get all my work done so that I wouldn't have to do any today and I could just focus on writing, but that's not the case. So I have a list. I've got to send my taxes to my accountant, which are not overdue, but I have taken too long to do them because they are last year's taxes, and in reality I could have gotten them done in April, but I didn't. It took me ages. Finding receipts is one of the worst things you have to do as a freelancer, and every time I tell myself I will be better next year, I will keep them safer, and every single time I forget how annoying receipts are. Anyway, I have a client that I need to book in for a new project, so we're figuring out the finer details right now, and it's actually really exciting. I'm really excited to get stuck into it. And then for my writing, I have to do a little bit of planning and regrouping. I think this is natural in the early stages, but I'm really finding that this project requires so much thought before I can put pen to paper, so to speak. So as I said, I've taken a little bit of break from writing. It's been like a week, I think. I'm actually not sure. In that time, I have been trying to regroup. I've been trying to plan a way forward because I did get a little bit stuck. And while I think that's normal with a project in the early stages, it's definitely slowed me down, and I just want to keep that momentum going. I don't know if anyone else finds this, but when life creeps up on you and you have to turn your attention to work or to other commitments, do you find that you lose momentum with your writing? Because I really have this week, and that's partly why I ended up filming my last video, which was all about a big writing break I took last year, because I was really reflecting on why I took the break and how it helped me, because actually I don't regret it and it was a really worthwhile experience. I go into more detail in the video, but basically I just needed the break, and in the end I made it worthwhile and really reconnected to who I am and figured out what I like writing and gave myself just a bit of time and space to figure some things out, you know? And now that I am back to writing, I feel like I have a much better relationship with writing. I'm a bit less of a perfectionist, which is so nice because it's tough. You don't want to write if you're just going to be hard on yourself all the time. But I am really excited about this project. I might talk about it a bit later. I'm going to sort out some stuff I need to do for freelance, get that out of the way. I'm going to eat breakfast, and yeah, just get ready for what I hope will be a really productive, peaceful, chilled out writing day. Can't be the only one that has like the best intentions for a day. You think, all I'm gonna do today is write, I'm gonna get into it, I'm gonna hit like a silly word count, and then it just doesn't happen. And like the thing is, I have loads of time still. It's only 12:30, but I already feel like the day's gone wrong. But I will keep trying. I will get back on track. I have done some things on my to-do list, like I did some freelance work, I've eaten. I wish I was one of those girls that could like film themselves cooking. I can't, like I'm so chaotic in the kitchen, and nobody wants to watch that. Nobody wants to watch me fight with an avocado and lose. It does make it hard when you're trying to film a video and show what you're up to if you physically cannot show what you're up to without dropping something or breaking something. So, but we keep going, we keep trying. Now, before I get into writing, I know I need to do some planning, some regrouping. As I said before, I haven't written in quite a few days, but what I have done in the evenings when I haven't been working is thinking about my book, looking at my plan. The reason that I'm doing this now and I'm regrouping is because I've written the first 3 chapters, my partner's read them, and he gave me really good feedback, but he said that the pacing was a bit too quick. And that's something that I kind of knew already. Like, I need to slow down, making sure we're taking the time to like world build and add in these relevant details. But it made me realize that in this first draft, writing the first 3 chapters, I have been trying to make them as fully fleshed as possible and then kind of failing. And do you know what? It's to be expected because it's a fantasy novel. It's not an alternate world, but it is like ours and it's historical. So I need historical details, I need world building details, and those are things that I'm just not going to have yet until I have spent more time with the project or until I've done more research. And the thing is, I need to get a first draft written, so I'm holding off on the research, which I do think is like a good idea. People have like mixed feelings about it. I think it's whatever works for you. I'm going to show you. I've got some books for research actually. So I'm writing a dark academia kind of fantasy book about an institution that teaches types of magic. I have picked up these books to help me. So I've got the Book of English Magic, which really dives into the history and how magic has always been present, and it's really interesting. I've read a couple of chapters, but for the most part I've set it aside now so I can come back to it later. The next book, which I haven't read at all, is called The History of Magic. It's just all about magic in different human societies, not just in England like the last book, but across the world, which I think will be really helpful. I do think my book is very English and very British in its sensibilities and its voice and its sense of humour, which actually brings me on to the next sort of books I've been looking at. So my book is sort of set in the Victorian times, which I love Victorian literature. I love the Gothic, and while I wouldn't say my book is specifically Gothic, I feel like dark academia, like you can't help but get the Gothic kind of vibes, especially because it's set in this very big old institution that's kind of spooky and creepy. It's not quite like an old Gothic manor house where someone's being kept in the attic, but it's close. And the other thing that I think is really important in my book is gossip. So the first book I got is The Courtesan's Revenge, which is about a real life courtesan who worked in London, and she had this amazing career as a courtesan. She was seen with lots of notable men of the era. I believe she had an arrangement with one such gentleman, and then he was going to provide for her, he was going to get her an apartment, he was going to pay for her living costs for a long time. I believe she was around the age that courtesans usually retire, so obviously this was important for her. Anyway, I believe that he decided he wasn't going to do that anymore, so she thought, F you, I'm going to go write my memoir. I believe she wrote like letters to various people that would appear in her memoir that maybe wouldn't want to be in it, and she said to them, if you send me £100 then I will take you out of it. And she had like varying degrees of success, and then she wrote her memoir, obviously included people that didn't pay the sum that she threatened them with, and then yeah, it caused a scandal. This book is all about her life and the memoir and everything that happened, so I'm really excited to read this, and I'm really excited to get into the gossip and like the secrets of Victorian high society, because I feel like that's going to be really beneficial for my book. And then of course I've just got a book about the history of the Victorian times and literally called How to Be a Victorian, so that's going to be really helpful. Again, this one I'm not going to read just yet. This one's actually from the library, so I hope that I can keep renewing it until I need it. I don't believe anyone else has reserved it, so I don't feel bad about hanging on. If somebody does want it, I will return it. This is the first time I've had a kind of reading list for myself when I'm writing a book. I've never done anything historical, and this is the first fantasy full-length novel that I've tried to write. My last book was speculative fiction, but it was very much set in like an alternate world. I think the fun of this project for me is taking something that already exists and adding my own twist or spin onto it, and especially where magic is involved, it's just so much fun. And I remember being a kid and my favourite books were ones that I could recognise my world or my life in, but they just had this like secret underbelly or this twist to them or something that just made it a bit fantastical and different, and I really want to capture that vibe. This is by no means a children's book. This is absolutely an adult fantasy book with what's turning out to be some really dark like elements to it. I really want to make a whole video just about my book and kind of introduce it, but at the same time I want to do like a mood board, so I thought that would be fun. I might do that in another video, see what you guys think. Right, enough yapping. I want to sit down, look at my plans. I made some notes the other day of things I need to do. So one thing that actually somebody in the comments suggested to me, which I'm so grateful for, they said in my last video that if it was getting a bit too convoluted and my plan was feeling a bit flat, then I should just make a really simple plan where I have like almost a sentence for each scene or chapter, and that's exactly what I'm going to do because I think that'll be really helpful. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm completely all over the place. I've made a bunch of notes in the last week and they are everywhere. So I've got scraps of paper for some reason. I've sent myself messages on like several different apps for some reason. I have in my notes app, I sent myself an email at one point, that was helpful. And I have like, I've got it loads on my iPad and it's currently trying to do some with Dropbox, which is a whole other issue that I can't actually get into because it breaks my brain. And yeah, it's just all a mess. So I'm probably gonna spend like a good hour going through it. I've already lost about 30 minutes going through it and I'm none the wiser of how to go forward. Yeah, I think I need a super simple plan for the story, just broken down into like the key beats. And I actually found who suggested that I write the really simple plan, Z-Prints, on my first writing vlog, so thank you, because that's really helpful so far. Said they limit themselves to 1 to 2 sentences of each plot point. I think that's what I need to do. I think I need it to just be what happened, not the how, not world building details, not context. That I will decide like as I'm writing, but also those things change and it's just gonna slow me down if every single time I go to write I have this like very detailed plan to read just for a chapter, and then you look back at your chapter plans and you're like, I can't remember what happens in that chapter. Gathered up a lot of the notes that are in random places, like the ones I've messaged myself, put on all these different apps to make my life easier. Obviously I've put them all together, taken what's useful. I have this very detailed plan that I like doodled the other day, which makes it sound really impressive. I have a big spreadsheet that got a bit too detailed, but I did find that there was a column that I had written really simple sentences for what happened in each chapter. I have deviated away from that now, but that's a really good starting place. So I'm gonna go through that. I'm just going to put that in a new document, start fresh, go through, make sure that I'm happy with it. And do you know what? If I don't get to the end today and I don't look at everything, I think that's fine. I'm just gonna do it for the beginning because I really feel like this is gonna be a story that unfolds for me as it goes. Don't know everything that's going to happen just yet. I have a feeling of how it will end and stuff that happens in the middle, so I feel confident enough that I could leave it for now and that there is a bit of a framework there. I think if I get sidetracked for much longer today, I really won't get any writing done, and I really want to shift my word count today. I'm on 7,863 words, which is good. That's basically chapter 1, 2 and chapter 4. I wrote it as chapter 3 and then decided it needed a chapter in between for some reason, so I'm gonna investigate and figure out what I was thinking because it's been a little while since I looked at it last. But yeah, it's basically 3 chapters. I think when I wrote them, I really ran with some world building elements and kind of made some decisions at the time, and it was quite exhausting. I'm not usually a writer that writes a chapter and it's mostly all there. It takes me a really long time to flesh things out. By doing this, I will just end up with a super long chapter when I do come back and flesh it out. So I don't want to overwrite if I can help it. I think my approach for the next few chapters is going to be paring it back a little bit, focusing on basically character and story. So that's dialogue, action beats, the main character's reflection and internal monologue and decision making, things that really get the story moving. I would love it if this first draft just the story down into the beats that I'm really happy with. Maybe I can move things around if I need to and tweak things, but I should be able to see that all a lot clearer. I don't think this will be a first draft that I could share with anybody, in the sense that I don't know how readable it will be. I think once I finish the first draft, that's when I'll go away and do research and think more about the world building, or at least I'll know through the writing process. Draft 2 will be adding that context in, adding in the world building, fleshing things out, really setting scenes, because I do have a tendency to have white void scenes that like there isn't really a backdrop. I think the best scenes take place in interesting locations where it's affecting the characters. There's that typical thing of having 2 characters having a very important conversation in a place where there's lots of hustle and bustle and lots of people around that they don't want to overhear them, and I think that adds like tension. So I really want to think about where I'm setting my scenes. I think if I can come up with an idea while I'm writing in draft 1, I'll include it, but I don't know that that's going to come up as easily for me. So draft 1 is going to be like white room syndrome. That's fine. That's kind of why I'm not going to let anyone read it. And then draft 2, I'll figure it out later. Side note, I'm reading 5th Season by N.K. Jemisin at the moment, and it is blowing my mind. There's one bit that I was looking at in particular because I'm not particularly great at writing theme. I think it's an area of writing craft that I'm not entirely sure I understand. And I always think it comes to certain writers naturally and they are highly skilled at it, but they might not be the best at explaining it. And it feels like this ephemeral thing that is like difficult to explain. There's one part where this character has to do something because of who she is in the fantasy world, ends up on a path where she does certain things that I don't think she would do otherwise. That sounds really vague, but basically it's something that not everybody would do, and it's really iffy. It made me feel super uncomfortable, but she's super detached from it and it's like normal to her and expected. And I just think that's why this book is so successful, because this story couldn't exist without that world, and this character couldn't exist without that world either. Like, the world building is crucial to everything, and then the way that the theme comes in is how she reflects upon the decisions that she's made. In this book there's like little bits of lore, like they actually call it lore in the book, but there's little bits of lore to do with how the civilization was formed. We get this little snippet, somebody many years ago who was like very influential and high up, talking about their methodology. Basically everything they decided back then led her to being in the position she was in, making this decision, and I just found that like it was amazing. The fact that the author ties it into the theme really hit it home for me, because I think that's the thing you can connect to and makes it relatable, even though this world and this life and this person is so alien to me. This book is amazing. I need to give it back to the library in like 3 days, and I think I'll finish it. Does anyone else just have like the pure fear that technology brings them? I don't know if it's because I'm reading this book that's not really about technology, although there's one bit that was like from an actual horror film that had some sort of sci-fi technology to it, which I didn't love. I'm just like having the worst time trying to make sure that my Scrivener is backed up to Dropbox so that I don't destroy anything when I go across different devices. Like, the last time I wrote on it was on my iPad, and now I'm just trying to work on my computer and it's just not working. I feel like this might be a procrastination technique because I am behind and the day is dragging on. I don't want to open it and like destroy everything, but I'm pretty sure it's not synced yet or something. I keep getting error messages and it's really stressing me out. Create a tracker so that I can keep up with my progress. Now, I did make one which I need to take down because it no longer applies, because I fell off the wagon. I took too long not writing and I kind of want to start again. So the idea with this tracker was that every day I was going to hit the next 1,000 word milestone. Day 1, 1,000 words, day 2, 2,000, day 3, 3,000, and so on until I hit a certain word count. Now, I don't know what word count this first draft is going to be, and the reason I'm redoing this is because I think draft 1 is probably going to be less words than I anticipated, because I'm paring it back and I'm just focusing on certain elements. So I'm going to write a new one. The reason I'm doing this is because I find something like a daily word count or a weekly word count goal really tough. If I achieve it, feel great. If I don't, I feel dreadful on that day. And my schedule, I will have busy 12-hour work days with design, or I'll have something else going on, or you know, just life happens. You can't always just be at your computer every single day, and I definitely don't work that way. I have done things like a weekly word count goal before, which is helpful, but I think what ends up happening is I don't write for 5 days and then I try and push myself too hard in the 2 days at the end of the week and just get it done, which means I have this cycle where I kind of get too exhausted from that, I burn out, and then I have to race to the end of the week to get it done. And if I have other things going on, they suffer. It's just, it doesn't work for me. I find it exhausting. Obviously I could manage things better, but this is just how I work and how my schedule seems to be. So I'm just trying to find something that works for me. So what I've come up with is this, the 1,000 word milestone daily challenge, whatever it is. pop it up on screen in a second because it was actually working for me. What I found was that on the first day I wrote just over 1,000 words, so I was like, oh, I've done it, and I'm a little bit closer to that next milestone, so tomorrow should be easier. I kept going because on average, once I sit down, once I've shown up, if I give myself enough time, I should write about 1,000 words, if not a little bit more. And that's the other thing, I don't think I'm gonna ever write exactly 1,000 words every single day. The point of this is that when I do show up and I get into a flow state, I can push past my target for the day, and I want to be rewarded for that. I want to make it easier for myself. I want to earn breaks for later. If by a certain day I need to be hitting 10,000 words, but I do it 2 days early, then that's 2 days off, or I can push through and get even further ahead. And I just think that's the way it needs to be for me. This might seem super obvious to other people, maybe other people have been working like this, but it just came to me the other day and I just have stuck with it. So I'm gonna keep at it and see how it goes. But yeah, I need to come up with a new one because I ended up taking too much of time off. Realistically, I'm so behind now that it's just gonna be demoralizing and I'm never gonna quite catch up. And the other thing is I set this for 90,000 words for 90 days. And I kind of didn't think my first draft would be 90,000 words. But the chapters were coming out really fully fleshed and I was thinking, God, I'm gonna overwrite this if I'm not careful. First draft is gonna be around 50 to 60,000 words, and if anything I would prefer it to be on that lower end, just because if I can manage to get the basic beats down for 50,000 words, I have a feeling that I'll end up needing a couple of extra beats here and there. So then there's room for that, and there's room for the world building and everything else I want to do. Right, I need to get on, but it was good to catch up and I'm absolutely procrastinating now. I figured out is that my story has two main plot strands. One of them is mostly about the plot and one of them is mostly about the characters. It's complicated, but in one strand, the main events that happen affect the nature of the relationships between the characters and the dynamics and the ups and downs. And then the other plot strand is like the central mystery. And then I took it one step further and I realize that the story contains 3 key events that ties both those plot strands together. As I said, I'm trying to create a roadmap, so I'm going to use those as like key milestones to keep me on track. So I'm going to work from there. I'm enjoying working from big to small. My only thing is that I need to stop at a certain point so that I don't put in too much detail that it derails me later, like I said. So we're working with that. We're going to just fill out the main plot beats and, you know, how we get from the beginning through to this big event, through to the next one, through to the next one. It feels like with each of these main events, the first one, it does raise the stakes of the story, it makes things more complicated for the main character, it ties together these 2 plot strands, and then the second main event really amps things up, and then the third one is like at the height of the conflict. So I'm really liking where it is at this point. I really did want to do writing today and actually get some words down. I think I should be able to. It is almost 4 p.m, but I really want to finish this first and have my super simple plot outline to end the day. Sometimes I do my best writing late at night, so I might find that I get a second wind and I can do my writing then. I want to see how this plan actually works in practical ways, like how I find using it when I'm writing, and I think that would be good to include in this video, but we'll see. my planning for today. I'm really happy where I got up to. I basically replotted out the first 2/3 of the book. It's basically the same story. I've just made the plan more coherent and simplified it, and I feel like it will be much easier to follow. I think the crucial thing was getting to the core main point of each story beat and each chapter. I actually wrote out all the story beats and then I went back through it and figured out where my chapter breaks would be, because sometimes you end a chapter on a revelation or the start of a scene and then the scene carries on to the next chapter. So I'm sure that will change and I'll figure out as I go, because that's more of the like how you want to present the story beats that I was talking about earlier, whereas this is the what happens, that's the how it happens. But yeah, I'm happy with where it is. I feel like between those main 3 events that I talked about, I know how I get from page 1 to that first main event and then to the second and a bit of the fallout after that. I've left the last third until later. I think my original plan was good, but I think the ending, I have all the pieces. I don't know exactly how they're going to come about, but I don't want to be too prescriptive right now in case things change. One thing I will say is that I posted my last video a couple days ago and I was getting some really nice comments and I was finding it really distracting because a few of them just came through at the same time while I was doing this, and it was actually super motivating because I was like, I'm not gonna look at them, but once I finish this then I can look at them and like reply and chat to people, because I find it so nice. Like, I'm really new to this, I'm really new to sharing videos and like talking about my writing online, so like anytime someone's commented and left something nice or thoughtful, like it just means a lot and I really like chatting about writing. So before I finish up, I'm going to take the first few plot points and put them into Scrivener into just like different sections so that when I come to it I have them all set up, and then I'm going to get back to some comments and reply to them because that'll be really fun. And then I think I will take a little bit of a break. I probably will have dinner soon and then I'm gonna do some writing sprints in the evening. This whole day has been derailed, but I'm okay with it. I'm tired. I actually lost track of time. I wrote 882 words, which I'm really proud of. It's not amazing, but it's definitely not the worst. And I spent so much of today planning and doing other things. It doesn't always go to plan, especially on those days where you're like, it has to be productive, I have to get a lot done. For me, they never go to plan. Yeah, I feel really good about the plan that I did earlier. I think that was the real win of the day. And it was really good to talk about my process and talk about what I was feeling and thinking at the time, because I think looking back, it will be really helpful if I do get stuck again, or I feel like I want to over embellish my plan and I need a reminder of what the first draft is. I actually think I might make a video about what a first draft is and what a first draft isn't, for me at least, because in the last couple of weeks I've done a lot of thinking about what I would like to include in a first draft and what a first draft kind of needs from you as you approach it versus like later drafts. If I do make a video about it, it'll probably be once I finish the draft so that I can fully reflect on it. So if you're a writer and you have any opinions on what a first draft is versus other drafts and how they differ, besides obviously being the first thing that you've written, I'm more talking about mentality. Like for me, a first draft is somewhere to focus on the story and the characters and sort of get that right before you move on. But it means a lot of things to different people, and somebody might lay down theme or some other things, whereas I might not. So I just think it's interesting to hear how other people approach it. But yeah, 882 words is not bad. I'm getting my plan down, and my Scrivener file is looking a lot more organized. I've got my 30 or so, I'm not calling them chapters just yet, but like scenes and I guess story beats, and then they've got like a 1 or 2 line description. So it just has decluttered my brain, and I feel like I'll be able to move forward a lot more easily, because I think that's the difficulty, at least I find, is that when I've spent a few days away from my writing, which is just so natural because you have other things that you have to do like work or whatever it might be, I find it hard to get back into. So this, I'm hoping, will make it easier for myself to come back. But yeah, that's all from me. This was just a whole day of writing. I don't always get to do this, so it was really fun to do. I'm gonna stop writing now. I'm gonna put Scrivener away. I'm probably gonna go curl up with my book. I'm gonna have dinner. I'm gonna have a really relaxed evening, and it's gonna be really nice. If you're writing, I'd love to hear about how you're getting on. One of my last vlogs, I got some lovely comments from other people about how their writing is going and what they're up to, and just chatting about our projects, and it was really lovely. So I would love to hear what you're working on. If you did like this video, feel free to stick around. I'd love to have you. You can subscribe. You could even like the video if you want to. I actually have a playlist that I keep adding my writing vlogs to, so you can check that out if you would like. That's everything from me. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.